This episode of The Gravel Lot is proudly brought to you by our friends of the show at Works. So you've heard us talking about the Hydra Shot. Let's be real. It's the new Craftsman inflator. It's the digital inflator of 2020, 2019, 2020. Forever moving forward. It is a tool that is super packable. And it will change
the game.
Yes,
whatever game it is,
and not in a marketing way.
Like, no. It's
something that makes your life easier.
It does. It makes your life easier, and just like other things in this world have come along, sliced bread. You know, I mean, there's plenty of things that have been innovations, and the Works Hydra Shot is one of them. But you've heard about that. But did you not know about all the other amazing tools that Works has to offer for your home or your mobile bike shop?
So you're talking about things like electric snips?
Yeah.
Portable collapsible tables?
Yeah. Floodlights?
Sawhorses?
All these
rotary
things.
Cutters.
Rotary, just like a bevy of things. And Works...
enough to keep you really busy on the internet, dreaming about completely redoing your garage, workspace, basement,
treehouse,
whatever stocking up on all of the tools that you want to buy.
Absolutely. And that is amazing because Works is back, and they are back in a big way. They are offering our listeners 15% off all sorts of stuff, not just the Hydra Shot. You can see all the discounts over at yourcleanbike.com. So still the same place to find all the things they're offering 15% off on. Make sure to enter the promo code GEARUP to get 15% off your order. Whatever's on that page, you select 15% off.
Yeah, so that's YOURCLEANBIKE.com. And again, as Doug said, it's the same website we've had, but they have just added a bevy. A bevy. I like we're on the same page.
Bevy.
Jinx.
Buy me a Coke.
A bevy of new products from the Works line of tools and portable gear and equipment. And there's tons of 20-volt stuff in there as well. And enter code GEARUP, that's GEARUP at checkout. And Doug and I hope to see you on the road, trails, gravel, cleaning your siding.
Cleaning your pool, cleaning your bass boat.
Building a tree house.
Whatever.
Bass boat's back. It's been a while since we've had a bass boat.
Bass boat.
Or wherever, riding hard and riding clean. Welcome back once again to The Gravel Lot, and rated the best podcast on the entire internet by 2 out of 2 hosts of said podcast.
And we found out it was 5 out of 4 dentists.
Correct.
5 out of 4.
Math, yes. So we're coming to you today from the home of Red Bike Cincinnati. And as we stated at the beginning, this is The Gravel Lot. We are part of the Wide Angle Podium network of shows. As always, my name is John.
Mine is Doug, and we here at the Gravel Light. The Gravel Light?
Gravel Light.
Gravel Light. That's where you travel after
more taste, less calories.
more facts. Wait, no, less facts. Something. Anyway, at the Gravel Lot, we love all...
We're just better for you. That's what makes us the best podcast, recommended by 5 out of 4 dentists.
The Gravel Lot is all about bikes. We love talking about bikes, but we like talking about the people behind bikes and the stories that surround their lives and surround you and your bikes. We think that's the captivating part of all of this. So,
yeah, we love all things bikes. We love the tech. We love the racing. We love all that stuff. You have a bike. I have a bike. Let's be friends. But we consider you guys our family. And just like you guys are all more than somebody that rides a bike, you guys all have stories. You guys all have interests outside of cycling. We like to talk about the stuff that happens in, around, on, tangential to, etc. bikes.
And this week...
Bikes.
Yeah. Don't do it, dude. If you do it off mic. Don't do it. This week, we get a chance to get back with one of our favorite folks that we had on in Season 2. He opened up Season 2 for us, and we had a great time. And we get to hear a lot about where he is right now and what's going on. So
yeah, he had an interesting 2019.
Yeah,
and
we get to touch on all that.
Somebody that's a great listen, because he's always just so positive.
Absolutely. So without further ado, let's head in. So... joining us now for his second ronda on the TGL, on the magical TGL world, from Roanoke, Virginia, known simply as our friend Wadsworth. He is a 3-time national champion. He is a 5 times He's
doing it. He's doing it
naturally. Today, National Ultra Endurance Series champ. He is the fastest single speeder in the world. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Gordon Wadsworth, welcome back to the Gravel Lot. It is good to have you.
Man, welcome back. It's like Quad Shots Part 2, right? What was the what was that movie from the 90s?
Yeah, it was the one that
Part
was
Two.
It was the Navy movie, right? Hot Shots.
Hot Shots. Yeah.
Hot Shots
Part 2.
Yeah. Where's Leslie
Quad
Nielsen
Shots
when
Part
we
2.
need him? Yeah. For sure. Well, thanks for coming back. We're stoked to have you. Lots have been going on in your world, in our world. And for all the Pebbles who have not, please pause this, take a moment.
Yeah,
scroll back through.
If you're used to hearing the how'd you find bikes, what's your motivation, getting stoked on bikes, like Gordon's first episode, which was it the first episode of season 2?
It was.
So it was, it's episode 2.1. Go back, find it, and you'll come back. You'll understand who he is. You'll understand what his motivations are. He is super positive, loves everything about bikes, but today, we're going to talk about the things that have transpired since that initial episode.
It's been a year plus.
And it's been a little bit more than a year, and there's a lot going on in his life. So I think let's just turn it over to you, Gordon, and let's talk about kind of the last year and some of the stuff that you've gotten involved in.
Shoot, yeah, we did. We recorded last year on New Year's Eve, and we had an awesome call. And you guys have done a ton of amazing content since then. I mean, some of the interviews that y'all have conducted are fantastic. I mean, you guys had this knack for chatting with people that, like when I'm at an event and they're there, I'm like, oh, I gotta go talk to Jake Wells, or I gotta go talk to so and so. And you guys have done an awesome job in the year that I've been really tuned in. Of man, y'all get the game, man. It's awesome.
Thanks, man.
So
Well, thank you.
I'm thrilled to be back.
So we're still working on the you mentioned the Jake Wells thing, but I think I still need to make the t-shirt like I cried on the gravel lot. Or is it I think we should put up a poll. Is it I cried on the gravel lot, or is it tears per kilogram? Like which is
it's one of the two.
Which is I think which one's better.
Or I swore on the gravel lot and Doug had to beep it out. Yeah, I think that's the other one. That's the other one that we've had to do.
I think tears per kilogram is gold.
All right, good. That's one vote.
Gold.
We'll put it up there. So what have you?
It's probably less marketable, but for the narrow band of people who would buy it, man, they'd buy a full size run, so they never ran out.
So what have you been up to? What has this past year held? What have you been up to? What have you been doing?
We talked a lot in the New Year's episode about kind of real life and real talk and all of those things. And that was really good. I'm worried that it predicated 2019 for a bumpy ride though, because it was a Mr. Toad's wild ride in a lot of ways for us. We had a lot of really awesome experiences, but it started out with, I went to 24 Hours in the Old Pueblo, which is like one of my all-time favorite rides, events of the year. And I cracked a shoe during the Le Mans run. And it turned into, 4 months of really awful, debilitating IT band pain, which is kind of an injury I've had in one leg many years ago. And it popped up in this leg. And it was just kind of a wild ride of like, I don't want to say depression because I don't think it was that, but it is, anytime as cyclists, we identify through our bikes sometimes. And when you take that out of the equation, we lose our compass. And I kind of did that for a little while. And we had some really good riding and racing in the spring, and that included the Four Islands in Croatia, which I did with my buddy Thomas Turner, who's like one of my favorite people in the world to travel with. He's just the wildest, most hardy dude. But then eventually I got that sort of cleared, that IT band issue and pain, and then Emily, my wife, broke her leg on a video shoot in Kentucky. She tore her MCL and had a tibial plateau fracture. And then it was just like, oh, here we were back in the cycle of this, bummer injury stuff. And, so we kind of rode that wave for a little while. And then and that was end of May, beginning of June. So it was the start of her summer breaks, and she works in academics. So it was like couch surfing all summer. And it really Yeah, perfect timing, right? People sometimes say, well, did she miss any work? And it's like, no, she literally missed no work. But by the time she could walk, she had to go back. It was like, this is the worst. But then in the summer, we both kind of got some fire, or in the late summer, early fall, and we had some really awesome, fall riding and racing, and that kind of recentered. I mean, we talked, I think, in 2019, way back in 2019, about kind of the bike as a through line, man, and we really had a good year in our relationship with the bike, because we kind of, I don't want to say lost it. We kind of felt its absence and then found it again, at different times and on different wavelengths. But in the fall, like I had spent some energy really building some really good fitness with my coach, Elliot Baring in Georgia, who's a great friend and a race partner sometimes. And he whipped my tail into good shape. And I had a great time at Rebecca's Private Idaho, which was a gravel event that I'd never done. It overlaps with the Shenandoah Mountain 100 in our backyard, which is great. But after 7, I think, of those, I was like, I'll give, Rebecca's Idaho a shot. And it was an awesome experience. And I had great fitness out there. And then I went to Single Speed Worlds, which was actually my second time in Slovenia in 2019. We went a little bit after our Four Islands trip in Croatia. And that country is, man, you guys, whatever country is at the top of your list of places to see, like, cross it off and write Slovenia, because that world is amazing. The people are incredible. The food is really good. The mountains are stunning. It's the Julian Alps as it borders Italy. And it's just fantastic. And so Single Speed Worlds there was kind of where I finished my season, and I won the bike race part, but I need to brush up on my aptitude for hunting beers in a hay bale, because that was this year's decider.
You drank a beer on a roof. Like, that's all I saw was mountains and you drinking a beer on a roof.
Let me tell you, there's I think it's the Japanese have, when you go into Chinese restaurants or Japanese restaurants, and you see like those sort of kitschy scenes of mountains and pagodas and cherry blossoms, sure. And you're like, that's a dumb thing. That's legit a type of meditation where you envision a scene from your life or your memories or the world that you're familiar with, and you piece it together inside your head. And I learned that that's a type of meditation this year. Really good friend of mine who also works for Bike Flights kind of was like, oh, well, that's a thing. I do that with more places that we've traveled, but Slovenia is one of them. And that scene from sitting on the roof with Chris Reichel, the dirty biker, and my buddy VJ from Maryland, and a bunch of other just goons post Single Speed Worlds with the Julian Alps in the background and like a cold beer and possibly a fifth of what is that, like plum schnapps that they drink over there that rots your eyeballs. Just like soaking it in, man. Yeah, Slovenia is tremendous. That's a scene that I hold dear as a form of like peaceful meditation, dude. It's awesome. Yeah, I recommend it.
That's
but
awesome.
we had a lot. We had a lot in 2019. I did Unpaved like a week later, or like 3 days after I got back from Slovenia, and had an amazing race there. Got a little bit snarky and a little bit lucky, and went pretty hard, and was 3 minutes off of Ted King for second, and had a good like fall. So we have a lot of fuel for 2020. We have a lot of fuel, yeah, and I'm excited about it.
That's awesome. So one of the things that you mentioned in there I thought was really interesting. You guys had a weird cycle, you and Emily. Like, you got injured. She was not.
Yeah.
You're watching her ride bikes. She's watching you convalesce. Mm-hmm. The opposite flips months later. What was that yo-yo like for you two?
It wasn't easy. We went to the Four Islands in Croatia, and that race is done, which is like seriously a fantastic single track experience. That if you do it right, you stay on these cruise ships, which are like 14 bedroom, like pretty small, 140 foot, but compact private cruise ships. And I remember waking up one morning after having a really difficult day on the bike, not fitness wise, but injury wise. Like I just was struggling with all the things that you would expect, the not really shame, but discomfort that I couldn't go as fast as I thought I could. I was letting my partner down. I wasn't living up to the potential that I really wanted to, because we tried to do that race for 2 years, and her partner had an injury 2 years ago and I had one this year, and it was like going. And I remember her basically like slapping me around and saying like, you and your pity party will not ruin this for me. and I kind of respect her for that, because good on her, like we should acknowledge our issues, but also kind of accept like, okay, this is my thing, and this should not, like, I still should care for the other people around me. And, in the flip side, when it came to summer and she was incapacitated and, zero weight bearing, like the tibial plateau is a crazy injury. She was zero weight bearing, and I work, I ride, I travel a ton. Like there was a lot of close moments where we had to kind of get our act together and realize that our partnership, our duo is got to be a priority. It's got to be a goal, and that sort of predicates some things that we're working on in 2020 or have been working on now for 6 or 8 months. Having lived this weird roller coaster of 2019 with all the real talk, we went into 2020, I think really sound, with our approach to cycling and fitness and our relationship as partners, and I'm excited about that, because good footing begets good motion. And that's really what I love, is staying in motion.
So let's pick that apart a little bit. So and I think we talked about this last time, is I was just coming off of a rough winter of trying to get back on the bike, because my wife in 2018 had a
tip fib,
Mason Nuva, basically like the spiral fracture of her tibia,
huge
fibula,
injury.
and it was 7 months of non-weight bearing or something like that. But looking at it, it's one of those things in our relationship that it calibrates who you are as a husband and who you are as a wife. So I'm curious as to what do you think about your wife being non-weight bearing and you needing to do everything around the house while still trying to maintain the stuff that you needed, like check the boxes that Gordon needed to check.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta believe that that's what led to the soundness of the fall and the enjoyment of her kind of looping back in and being a part of it again, and then kind of where this sound footing going into 2020 comes from. So what do you think that you learned about yourself and that you guys learned about your relationship set you up for that success?
Yeah, this is a great question, man. And you deserve some kind of a I don't know, free Krispy Kreme or something for 7 months of a partner who couldn't bear weight. That's like, oh man.
Damn it, I missed that boat. I could have brought you donuts, John.
I put enough weight on. I didn't need to put enough weight on.
Yeah, I believe that.
Hey, I'm just trying to make you slower, dude. I'm just trying to make you slower. I have to ride with you all the time. Whatever I can do.
Equalizing the gift cards in the mail, or the Krispy Kreme. Do you guys have Krispy Kreme up there?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, good. Bless you. Yeah. Have you had a Cheerwine Krispy Kreme though?
Ooh. Do you know what Cheerwine is, John?
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of my first jobs was as a bag boy at Kroger, and there was a Krispy Kreme in the Kroger. So every weekend day that I would do an 8-hour shift, I would have a lunch, and because I was 17 and made of bubble gum and magic, I would get an orange juice and 2 donuts as my lunch, because nothing fazed me at that point.
nothing like just pure sugar.
Yeah, just jet fuel for the last 4 hours of the day.
Jet fuel, no joke. Yeah, that's a good time. Good times.
I'm much healthier now, by the way.
Yeah, you don't have to be. Hey, man, he's riding away.
It's only one donut.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so really good question. I think Emily and I have had we've had a bumpy ride. I would say that our lives together, and we've been married for 5 years, have been, and together for 7.5 or so, has been personified by weathering a lot of storms together. And we're both pretty fiercely independent. And I think that those storms help us, you use, what'd you say, calibrate was a great word, because it does. It helps you find those issues and those concerns and drama, help you find your center really well. And we did that really beautifully. And as two pretty independent people, we I don't want to say we need that, but it's good for us. We're receptive to it. We learn that lesson, and it was a good year to have that experience kind of a couple times, and it showed us too that the way that we handle things like scheduling to be pretty boring, we can work on that, So I reached out to a friend of mine who coaches athletes, and I haven't had a coach in probably 7 years. And so I reached out to a friend, Elliot Baring, who worked with Peaks Performance and has, all the right degrees and things, and started a coaching relationship again. And that was really good for me, both because I saw some fitness gains off of that. And it also helped me take comfort in knowing that I was completing workouts versus, for me as an endurance cyclist, the volume hammer is sort of the go-to tool. And so if I'm not using the volume hammer, then there's a perception that I'm getting slower. And you guys know, with families and jobs and houses and kids and dogs and all those things, the volume hammer is like it sits and gets dusty sometimes. And so it was really great for me to deal with a coach who could give me, ass-kicking workouts that got results, and that I didn't have to feel like I wasn't progressing and growing, because I had somebody else kind of overseeing that. And that was really, really healthy for me, because the volume hammer is not conducive to a lot of things unless you're a single 20 something, really.
Yeah. I had that conversation today with someone.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's crucial. So that was really good for me. It also helped us kind of set goals, and I don't mean fitness goals so much as, like life priorities, and not even really life goals. Like we've always been really goal oriented people. So that's always been pretty much part of our dialogue, but priorities for how we deal with, people and friendships and, events and even sponsors. I mean, everybody that we interact with, our summer really taught us some hard lessons and some uncomfortable ones. We learned some hard ones, both through injury and through some conflict and kind of dissolution of a friendship, and some other things that we kind of went to some really hard places all at the same time. And I think came away from that saying, we now have calibrated the really important stuff, and we can go forward and create some really cool things and grow stagnant friendships and treat our fitness in a different way, and priorities in a different way too, and each other to a certain degree. Though we're not, it paints a picture like we were terrible partners before we both got. But
no
we really
one thinks
weren't.
that, Gordon. No one thinks that at all.
Yeah.
No one thinks that at all.
Yeah. So but we did relearn some of those lessons in a really good way. And I'm excited about this year because of it. And especially since there's this sort of general consensus. I mean, I've talked to more people for whom 2019 was a challenging year, and they're all like, you know what, like 2020, like it's gonna kill it. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be all about the right things. And that seems like where our national dialogue is. That's a healthy place to be, because if you don't create your own kind of destiny, then ain't nobody going to create it for you, So.
Exactly. And this is
I don't think we need to be here, Doug.
No,
I think
can he
he's
just
like
talk into the
creating his own
microphone for a while?
transition phrases and all. Like, we just don't need to be here.
No, I
I
agree.
think we said that last January too.
It's good.
You should start a podcast. We can hook you up with some people that know where to start.
I have one. I just don't record it.
It's just
You just talk to the dog.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Pippi Dog podcast.
He's just like, now check it out, Pippi. Here's the deal. Yeah. It's a tough day today, Pippi, but here's what I've learned.
Here's what I've learned. Nailed it. Yeah,
but I think this is interesting. You know, you come out of this space and you have this time and you have these opportunities, and it stokes some creative, like, opportunity in you. Is this where the genesis of thinking, you know what, I want to move and do something different? I've been doing all these events. I've been going and doing all this stuff. I want to make something. Where did this idea of getting engaged? Because for those people who don't know, you've decided you're building events out because
you don't have enough to do.
Right.
Right.
But yeah. Where did this genesis come from? Is this born from that crucible?
That's a really good question, and I'm gonna do a podcast that doesn't get recorded about that and think about that. But the answer to your question is that yes, this year in a very meaningful way. In the past, I'm trying to think of the right way to put it. In the past, we had a very formative role in building out a race called the Croatan Buck 50 in North Carolina, and that race was a partnership, and it was a lot of great things, and I think we built a cool thing. But in the second year of that event, we were brought face to face with a pretty substantial difference in how we wanted to organize that event and how we wanted to treat it, and the way that event interacted in a bigger space. And in seeing that and ultimately walking away from the Buck 50, we created. We sort of went back to the drawing board, and we knew, because of all the training miles that I log in the Roanoke and New River valleys here, we knew the raw materials that we had in our area to create. We've got 24 bike races or cycling events or festivals or whatever, and so we kind of came back to the drawing board, and what we came away with is a thing called the Appalachian Journey, which. There isn't a single detail of it that we haven't given a lot of energy to, because like you said, this sort of refining crucible of stress and injury and conflict and all of these things creates a much more pure, I think, end result, right? And the journey to us is that it is a cycling event which has. To me, it has the cleanest and purest and most mutually enriching feel to it of anything that I've ever done. And as an athlete or as I won't say anything I've ever done, because we've done some amazing stuff as athletes. We've done many 100-mile races. We've done stage races aplenty. I've done 3 La Ruta de los Conquistadores, the hardest bike race in the world, and all these kinds of things. So I won't be exclusive with that statement, but I will say that it is motivated by some of the purest intent that I've ever seen. And with this gravel cycling event called the Appalachian Journey that we're doing, we want to predicate every decision on creating the most mutually enriching and exciting and challenging, but beneficial end product. People right now are seeking meaning, right? And I think we even talked about that in our January of 2019 podcast, right? Meaning is a thing. People are they're hungry for it, and they're looking for it, and they're challenging themselves to find it in new and cool ways. And the journey is all about that. We were HQ'd in Floyd County, Virginia, which a lot of people joke is the center of the universe, and the people who come and see will see why. But we want to build an event that is as enriching and wholesome for its participant, right? The person who pays money to come do it, as it is for the local community, as it is for our hosts at our venue, and the nonprofit who is helping us do food service, and the people who live in proximity to our course. We want to create the most net positive experience for everybody. And I think that resonates, that sense of meaning and purpose and mutual enrichment resonates. Gone, I think, are the days of, or soon to be gone are the days of destroyed courses and, hammer jail wrappers on the side of the highway from the triathlon. And I think that people are seeking meaningful events in real numbers. And I think it's can be attributed to the growth of gravel a little bit, but also to the Appalachian journey. And I'm stoked about that.
But are there more events because gravel is growing, or is gravel growing because more people like yourself are trying to find and produce things that they've like? We had this conversation with Matt and Jay from Black Fork Gravel Grinder, and the genesis of that for them, like if you boil everything out of it, was I love my home, I love bikes. I want to show off my home roads to all of my bike friends and share what my life growing up was like.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And you know, with the Lulaca Wyco too, that's the same story out there. Is that it's just every road to the promoter team has this story, right? And I love that. And the Appalachian Journey has a lot of the same stuff. You know, I've been training up in Floyd for a decade and a half, and Emily's from there. The course goes just about right past her home. So that's a big part of it. I think that the growth of gravel to me can be, as someone who's done it since I was a crit racer on 21 millimeter tires, which, you know, that's a lot of tube changes if you're riding gravel on 21s.
It's lots of stopping.
Yeah, it's a lot of stopping and thinking. The growth of gravel, I think, is attributable to the fact that it is all of the enrichment and fun and challenge of a really great mountain bike event without the technical barrier. Right. I think that, and that's not to put mountain bike necessarily on a pedestal above gravel, but it is to say that the personal challenge of the mountain bike is pretty paramount. Right. You're being challenged by Mother Nature in a way that's, you know, unless you just went walking in the woods without any sort of trail, is pretty hard to beat. And when you tune that down to a palatable sort of challenge for more and more people, I think you get a sellout kind of experience. When I did the Unpaved in Pennsylvania, which I will speak really highly of. It's an awesome event. I remember being in the start line. You know, I kind of showed up like after Single Speed Worlds. I got back in the country on like Wednesday and drove up like Friday night, and showed up at the start line. It's cold and it's miserable, and I'm looking around at these people, and I'm thinking that I'm in the minority here as a bike racer. You know, there's 1,100 people or whatever the number is. It's over 1,000. And I'm in the minority here, like being a bike racer. There's people on, steel hardtail mountain bikes. There's people who just went out and bought a bike, and their shop gave them a gravel bike because it's what they described they wanted to ride. You know, there's all these different types of personalities here, and most of them are not bike racer. And I think that's so cool because that person is engaging with cycling rather than engaging with all kinds of other things, Spartan runs or triathlons or running a marathon, because kind of that's like a lot of people have been there, done that at this phase. You know, they found this community of cycling called gravel that's pretty rad, and they feel that, and they feel the buzz around it too. And I think that they feel that personal challenge in a context that's really enriching to everyone. You know, that road cycling, I'll go out and maybe lose a friend here, but the road cycling really isn't. You know, road cycling is really involved in personal ego. And there's a whole history there, I think, that justifies itself a little bit. But gravel doesn't have that. Gravel has a come as you are, wear a fanny pack, eat Twizzlers, you know, whatever you want. And that's cool kind of approach. And I really value that. And that's why we chose to produce the Journey this year rather than do, you know, a rad mountain bike race or something else. So that's why I think gravel is kind of growing. Yeah.
So Twizzlers are gross.
Fanny packs are cool though. I got one. Cool. I rocked mine yesterday.
Fill a fanny pack with Mike and Ike's and I'm on board.
Wow! Yes, sir.
if we're talking about jelly candies,
just like loose Mike and Ike's.
Yeah, just sure. As long as just unzip and I can stuff my hand in there and stuff them in my face.
I don't know.
A to B. Just,
This seems like a messy situation on
whatever.
a gravel ride.
Well, that's why you have a lot of them. You just fill like 3 boxes of Mike and Ike's on your pouch. That way, if you lose a couple, then you feed the birds, and it's fine. And they got Mike and Ike's.
And they're fired up, and they're riding the sugar wave, like 17-year-old John.
Right. So let me ask this: is you mentioned like Spartan Race, because in my notes I had, obviously I think all of us listening to this, and Doug, Gordon, and myself, we're all gonna kind of understand why a bike race and not something else. But when you mentioned Spartan Race, you mentioned CrossFit Games, you mentioned all of these things where there was a point where people got real into them and then they back away. That's just the normal cycle of things. So I guess my question for you would be, somebody that's been doing it for a while, is how do we, for the people that go to their shop and say and define all of the things that they want in a bike, and they end up with a gravel bike, and they do unpaved, or they do the Appalachian Journey with their best friend, how do we keep them? How do we not let them get overwhelmed or get too far into the sport and then get tired of it and then peace out to go on to the next thing?
Yeah, what's the secret sauce?
I actually have a lot of faith in that, because I think, fortunately, for once, the cycling industry is adjusting at the right time. I think that we, if you peel through, who reads a magazine, but if you peel through a cycling magazine right now, maybe, well, even if it's a Velo News, or something very discipline focused, I think you see a lot of content and a lot of advertisements and a lot of really beautiful pictures of folks focusing on their experience. It is not so much there, though it's still a part of it. The Assos guy? You remember him from like the early 2000s ads, and he had $2,000 worth of Assos apparel and Assos sunglasses, and he looked aggro as heck. Like he just was in it
mad
for
shredded.
Exactly.
Just like me. Just like me.
Just like you. So me too. All of us. So that is gone, and you see a very experience focused kind of media, right? You are seeing people you're seeing content that's focused on personal enrichment and personal challenge, in and out of organized sport, right? We talked to Austin from Kodiak Cakes today, which is a sponsor of the Journey, but also this amazing company out of Salt Lake who used to do just sort of a protein pancake mix. Now they do a lot of stuff. And in our call with him today for the Appalachian Journey, he discussed how one of their initiatives is feeding and providing nutrition to underprivileged families and kids, which is like, man, nailed it. And also how, nutrition as a component of experience is a real priority for them. And I think that experience priority and cycling as a whole, treasuring group and individual experience, is huge. And I think that is what will keep gravel from going the direction of road cycling, because road cycling built this I am better than you approach. And while there was always this awesome undercurrent of group experience, it never settled to that level. It settled at who's best at this game.
and that's definitely where it settled. But here's the question, Gordon.
Right.
If this is being capitalized on by the bike industry, right? The bike industry is notoriously like, ooh, this is the hottest thing. We got to put all our eggs in this basket. If they're capitalizing on this, how does this not become the next road cycling? How does this avoid that pitfall?
I think because we're all burned on that. I last year during Dirty Kansas, which I went in 2017, which was kind of the it depends on who you ask, but I like J. Peter Very's description of the year it got very fast was 2017. And so I kind of thought about going back in 2018, and that was 2018 and 2019 were the years that all of the, road professional cyclists, not just road, really started going to that event in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. And I was, because I've done bikes for so long, kind of skeptical and like, great, they'll ruin this. But then Emily rightly pointed out to me in an interview, I think with Taylor Finney, where he said that their experience as professional road cyclists is not the same as us as weekend warriors, right? We're not there for the experience. We're there to do a job. And so when he and Lachlan Morton and the rest of that crowd described their experience at Kanza as being about getting back to that experience, getting back to that wholesome, healthy, mutually enriching, about doing well, but for yourself and not necessarily for sponsors. When he describes it as about that, I have faith. I have faith that, and when I ride up next to Ted King at Unpaved and we talk about his event Rooted and we talk about the experience we're having at Unpaved and how we're the pierogies at Aid Station 4 and, we're talking about experiential things rather than sizing each other up and squeezing butt cheeks to see who's been training more. Like we're at a different place than we were when we were racing road bikes, even as individuals.
So let's jump in because it's we have to address it. Is we're starting okay, yeah, Doug is laughing hysterically right now at squeezing butt cheeks, so I have to be the serious one. So we have multiple social media accounts and kind of media houses that are being formed as ranking, here's the top 10 gravel men racers, here's the top 10 women gravel racers. We're starting to see endemic media form and create these kind of personalities, and Ted is a perfect example that he's built. Yeah. He's built his name more so as now a gravel connoisseur than he ever did as a roadie, and his YouTube videos are getting thousands of downloads, and I'm sure that he's figured out ways to monetize that with sponsorship and things like that. But are we already seeing the kind of transition of starting to take it seriously? And this is before I even mentioned the fact that USAC is throwing their kind of name into this mix of like, when are they going to show up to start to sanction races and break it apart into, Cat 5 and all of these things. And there's the industry as a whole, it can't help itself but to try to codify things. And some of those pieces are already starting to happen. So is that okay? Or are those the things that lead to the Fonz jumping the shark?
Jumping the shark, man, that's such a great episode. And he did too, the Fonz. I was a disclaimer. I was 74th on the gravel power rankings, so
hey, you
may or may
it.
not be. I'd be qualified.
John and I are 4,764 and 65.
Yeah, I think that's so silly. And the comments on those posts and things, they trip me up.
But again, but I look at that stuff as that's what we're putting out to the people that are outside of our little weird bubble of people that like to ride kids' toys. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we're putting out into the world for people that are just either being curious about the sport or seeing it from the outside, or they have somebody in their life that just got into cycling and they're trying to kind of get a groundwork of what's going on. So we're putting that out as this is what we want people to see us as.
If you Google gravel cycling, what shows up?
Right.
I don't know.
Let me look.
Oh, John's going to check. Yeah. What's the first result? What's the first gravel cycling?
I bet it's Salsa Bicycles.
It's ridinggravel.com.
Ridinggravel.com. Good SEO.
Yeah, they do have. Well, yeah, it's all.
Yeah, as I'd say, it's somebody who's got their Google AdWords dialed.
Yeah. Gravel Cyclist is second. Then Outside Magazine, Velo Press.
Okay, yeah. Industry players.
Bicycling Magazine.
Yeah, industry players.
Yeah.
And
so
we're not on the first page.
It's a really good question, and I would love to give you all the answers, but they would be made up, so I don't have.
Well, but that's part of this is we're not looking for the answers, but we want to have the conversations of we're people that are doing this, we're people that are helping promote events, and you're somebody that's putting on an event, you're endemic to the sport. Like, let's talk about it.
I will give you an answer. I'll always give you an answer. You can count on me for that. My wife says I talk too much, so I'll definitely give you an answer.
Yours too.
She can talk. Yeah, she can talk to ours.
So I have, again, faith, because I think that I think that the average consumer of gravel, and I think there's a growing average consumer of gravel. Like I said, in my experience at Unpaved, it doesn't care about that. They don't go to that. That's because we within the inner circle of having road background and having NORBA and USAC and UCI experiences, we go to that place, and that's cool. If somebody wants to put me on a gravel ranking, that's cool. It's fine. But I had to Google where I was because I wanted to open the response with that. Like, it's not even a priority to me. Is my priorities in cycling, I think, realign and recalibrate. So yeah, I know that everyone in our industry of cycling is looking at gravel and saying, oh man, here's a growing market. Here's something we can capitalize on. And that to me is fantastic because it is an experience-based market, right? It's a thing. If you're capitalizing on people having a great time, like, that's the best case scenario to me. You know what I mean? So I'm all about that. And I don't think anyone will ruin it, because I don't think that that kind of content, the gravel power rankings, I don't think that is going to reach a new market. That's going to reach the market it's always reached, right? The Cat 3+, Perma Masters cyclist, right? The not the person that has Mike and Ike's in their fanny pack. And that's cool. That's cool too. So that's some people's ride. That's some people's experience.
Is it weird is it weird that I'm both of those people?
You are.
Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun to drop 3 bags of Mike and Ike's in your fanny pack for the first time and realize and have a different experience? Isn't that great? I love it. I love throw in, Nittany Mountain Works sponsors the Journey, and I've gotten to know those guys a little bit. And the prospect of throwing a frame bag on my bike 2 years ago would have been appalling. And now I won't go around the block unless I've chucked something in there.
3 beers.
We did training rides this winter with a flask of whiskey and a 1 pound fruitcake in the training bag. And that's that's my dream right now. It's such a cool way to do bikes. So I'm optimistic that we will learn from these kind of experienced focused riders, and we'll say, dang, man, that guy's got it figured out, right? When they come across the Unpaved finish line or the Appalachian Journey finish line with a bigger smile than Ted King, boom, we have done a huge thing. And I think that's really what we are doing with the Appalachian Journey. We've made a very focused effort to kind of responsibly unhinge from being a bike race, right? We have timing, and we have, of course, prizes, and we have all of that, sponsors for podiums and all this kind of fun stuff, because that is fun, right? Podiums are fun. And you want to reward people who are awesome at what they do. But we also have had sponsors step up and provide want to be a part of making sure, and I won't give my top secrets away yet, but doing other things to make sure that everyone's experience is really unique and really cool and really fun. And so I have a lot of faith that will happen. And the Journey, we can talk a bunch about that and how we're sort of, again, responsibly detaching from the norm with that. Because I think that market is there. I mean, we sold out pretty quickly to a pretty diverse group of people. And I think that's because there's a market for Stoke. There's a market for a new shared experience, Well,
I think it's important I think for everybody that's already here and all of us that kind of were here before this boom happened. Right. I think about it the same way that, I came into cyclocross during kind of on one of the front sides of the J-POW wave. And you watch it subside and you're like, well, what happened? But I think for all of us that are talking about it, that care about it, that have kind of discovered it as, oh, this is just what I want to do. I want to go ride bikes with my friends and have these new adventures and take amazing pictures and create all these memories. Yeah. It's important to keep having these conversations and just keep it top of mind for everybody so we don't lose sight of what can happen if we let ourselves get too serious or get too into the weeds or start to take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, continuing to prioritize everyone's experience, I think is huge. I'll gush a bit about Garth Prosser, who you guys probably know. Garth is a cyclist from Ohio who kind of helped found what we call the NUE series now is omnipresent. It seems like I run into Garth all over the place at some of the most stoke-worthy events. And when I had a conversation with Garth many years ago that to the credit of Pisgah Productions beer sponsor, I don't think either of us remember all of it. But
yes, perfect. Yes.
I remember Garth saying something like, I just want everybody to have a good time, saying he wanted everybody to have a good time. And that to me has stuck as a cyclist and as a professional cyclist and as someone who is so blessed to travel all around the world. It is so not about my experience. That's what I take away. But, if you want to enhance that for yourself and for other people, make it about everybody's shared experience and always have time for the other rider, always have time for the person, park in the public parking lot and shoot the breeze and talk about whatever and listen to somebody else talk about their day. And if that ends with, yeah, it's pretty good, I got second, like on your part or theirs, then, that's cool. But acknowledge that your second place is it's just a bike ride too, like theirs. And I think that I'm really stoked because I see cycling right now at that level in dirt. And that's fun, man. That's really fun.
The coolest part about that to me is that everything that you just said does not need to stay contained to bikes. That's how you make better human beings. Giving time to your colleagues and listening to Carl while he gives you the weekend recap at the water cooler and you don't really care what his kids did over the weekend or whatever, but
good job bowling, Carl.
Being present in that
you bowled
moment.
A 140, Carl?
Yeah.
Man,
you're a hero.
The last time I bowled anything, I hit somebody in the head with a bowling ball, and that's my backswing.
But just being there and being present in the moment. I think there's so many lessons that can be in that. And to me, from like coming at it and entering cycling from the road side of it, and then, slowly dipping into cross before mountain bikes. And now like gravel's the first time in cycling where I felt like there wasn't a pressure to be the one to the top of the climb, or I ride next to people rather than that weird like pee-pee measuring thing of like you ride up next to somebody and then like suddenly they're 10 inches in front of you and then all of a sudden you're doing 24 and it's like, why are we going so fast?
So
totally.
Here's a question, Gordon. You are the person that is 3 minutes off Ted King and Unpaved, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep the experiential part of that associated to your actual experience as a bike racer? How do you keep those two things aligned when you do an event?
Oh man, that's a great question, and I think that's predicated on conversations with people like Garth. That's being married to a woman who is an amazing athlete, but who doesn't necessarily prize the same stuff. Cycling. I think that there's a lot that goes into that. I think a big part of it is attributable to kind of my personal social nature. I would just as soon ride along with somebody else as I would chase Ted King down. And that's really how our Unpaved situation went. Ted snuck away in a chunky section and I bridged just about back up to him and then I banged a rim and I said, ooh, warning shot. And I ended up riding with a now friend from Boston who he was powered on the flats and I was climbing and descending good. And it was just like, I'm happy riding with this dude. I don't know this dude. Let's get to know this guy. It's cool. We're here. Let's enjoy the Pennsylvania backcountry. And that is why that's why we chose kind of polarizingly to make the Appalachian Journey a pairs race, a duo race. You cannot compete solo in the Appalachian Journey. right? You have to have a partner. And that, I think, was initially a big line in the sand. And we've gotten a lot of questions about that. But it prioritizes a mutually enriching experience. And some of that comes from my stage racing background. UCI stage racing is a pairs format. And it's very common when you get outside of, the US. But it's not particularly common in gravel. And we wanted to kind of give folks, allow them do two things. One, assure them of an enriching experience with their partner, right? You are going to change as a person when you ride 110 miles of challenging terrain with another person. You may not have fun. I think you will, but you may end up in a fighting match, but you'll more than likely come out really improved and having had an enriching experience. And the second thing is pairs racing allows you to set kind of your experience, right? If you want to go and just spray hammers all over Floyd County at the Appalachian Journey, that's cool. Pick a partner who wants to do that, and you guys got twice as many hammers. If you want to go and challenge your distance or just get a suntan, pick a partner who wants to do that, and that partner will be on board with that. And you guys have an opportunity to grow a friendship, develop a friendship, or challenge yourselves in whatever capacity that you want. And having been in pairs mountain bike racing, having been the strong partner on many occasions and the weak partner on a couple of occasions, you learn more about yourself and emerge more whole and having had more fun than you would by yourself. I know every crack and crevice of the pain cave on a personal level. It's neat, and it's a great place to spend some time on a personal level, but you can rock your own world if you sign up in support of somebody else as a partner, and have a really cool time. So I think that there's a lot there too.
It reminds me a lot of most of the stories of people when they either get into cycling the first time when they're a little kid, or when they come back to cycling as a 20-something or as an adult, of my dad got me into the sport, or I rode with my mom, or my really good friend took me to the bike shop for the first time and I rode with them. Like all of those, there's so many, like, I'm shocked that you had pushback about making it a duo event, just because there's a plethora of events cropping up all over the country where you can go do whatever you want by yourself, but having something that is unique, that is different, that is solely focused on, I don't want to do a gravel event by myself. Like last year, I rode most of Barry-Roubaix by myself.
I was just going to ask you this question, John.
Mostly
did you have more fun, John, legitimately? You did Barry-Roubaix,
yes,
and you were out in the wind pulling random people all the time.
I had a lot of friends throughout the day.
Did you have more fun at that event, which was perfect weather, tractor pull John land, where you can go as fast as you want?
Right.
Or did you have more fun? Or did you have more fun at the Ronde with me sweating our nuts off in July?
So completely different events. Barry-Roubaix from a layout perspective suits me a lot more. I mean, I'm tall, I weigh more, so something that's 100K and like 3,100 feet of climbing definitely is better for me.
Right.
Whereas the Ronda was 65 miles and 7,200 feet or something like that. And it was a bazillion degrees. But I had so much more fun at the Ronda.
Why, John?
Because I was riding with you. I was riding with other people that we picked up along the way, and we weren't in a hurry. And most of it was, I mean, partially the heat led to that of not being in a hurry, because like you literally couldn't be in a hurry.
Sure, but we had bumpers.
Scrambled eggs.
We had bumpers.
Right.
Yeah, but we had fun.
Right. And it was being with my best friend on a group ride through amazing country, and having, again, even though it was, 112 or 113 degrees or whatever it was, like seeing the most beautiful parts of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're just like salt caked on your arms, you look out over a meadow and you're just like, oh my goodness, look at my state. So like having that, it was, the rides were about the same in terms of like kilojoule effort and all of that stuff, because I went way harder at BR. But the happiness quotient out of the ride in July at the Red Kite Ronda was through the roof.
Yeah. And that's an event that's enriching to its community also. That's an event that has, I think its mission sets its experience to some degree, which is also a factor,
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's something, and we've had outside conversations, so we know a little bit about the Appalachian journey, but you have spent some time making that an important aspect of how the journey is set up. Like, this is specifically not avoiding, it is completely embracing the place that it's in. Talk a little bit about what you guys are doing in that respect, because I think it's something that you don't necessarily see from other events. They almost swoop in, do their thing, and roll out of town.
You have a stage, you have a band, like
you
all
got
of
the
the
inflatable,
things.
you got the inflatable arch,
right?
And it's
it
over.
could be a thing that just shows up. It's like a carnival that just shows up and then drops a bunch of stuff and then moves out. Whereas
three kids puke on the tilt-a-whirl and we roll out.
Right. Whereas the journey is. It seems like it's more a product of where you're having it than it is a thing going to a place. If that makes sense.
It's totally informed by that. Floyd County, Virginia is a one stoplight county in southwestern Virginia. It's a plateau, really uniquely, and the plateau floor is a couple 3,000 feet or so. So it's a high plateau for the East Coast, and it separates what we think of as like the Piedmont parts of Virginia and North Carolina from the Appalachian Mountains. So it is a really unique geographical area, and that has attracted, for a bunch of reasons, has attracted a really amazing group of people, whether that's pioneering explorers, hundreds of years ago, or whether that is in the 40s and 50s, kind of counterculture, the bomb's going to drop, back to earthers. And it has, as all of these people groups have intermingled, it has created this really amazing town where you're as likely to find a moonshine distillery next to an organic hemp-based yurt builder, and that's not even an exaggeration. I couldn't make that up. And what it's done is all of these people, whether they define themselves by, CNN words, or whether they don't even have cable, they come to the same table. They kind of meet the same challenges of terrain and of topography, the same thing, of weather and of subsistence, and they share with each other and they learn from each other. And Floyd County, the people that come to the journey will have a real lesson in that, because it is this cool melting pot of what Appalachia should be, and the most enriching parts of that. There's a lot of really hard riding up there, and we're going to sample some of that. And for those who follow me on social media, you see me sampling a lot of that. But it is really cool to kind of come up against Mother Nature or whatever, and find yourself challenged to the point of failure. And that's a universal. Everyone goes to that place. And so Floyd County has this sort of cultural knowledge and practice that's allowed people to survive in the region on the region's terms. And there's this amazing health to that we wanted to tap into. So we have a great relationship with the county themselves. They're really excited to have us. We're using a ton of local sponsors and partners. We have a moonshine distillery that's going to do moonshine hand ups at the top of our longest climb.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. Have we met?
No, I mean, we haven't physically, but we have. Which good.
Right, but we have. We have a local a company called Plenty Farms, a not-for-profit called Plenty Farms, who's going to be working with Kodiak Cakes and a couple other local farms and several local farms to do our food service, sort of Appalachian brunch post-ride. And Plenty Farms sources local food and produce for local families who can't afford to feed themselves in many situations. So we're partnering with all of these people who get that it is about community and get that it is about running up against something bigger than yourself and seeking partnership to address that, right? Putting up a barn together because nobody puts a barn up by themselves. And some of that, to be totally honest, is predicated on our position with, the buck 50 from our past race experiences, and how we wanted to build something which was so mutually beneficial to everyone involved that it just shout from the mountaintops, and we've worked really hard to do that, whether that's through our venue at Chantilly Farm or many of the sponsors who are taking part with us. And there's a lot of bike industry sponsors. I mean, the folks at Goo Energy Labs have been really good to us to partner in a big way, and the folks at Otterbox are the same way, and Maxxis Tires and Industry 9 and all these amazing companies, Nittany Mountain Works I mentioned earlier, who've kind of sensed this goal of mutual enrichment and said, "Oh yeah, that feels right, that feels good." And I think that through focusing on an experience that's a sum positive, we've tapped into something really cool. And when we've almost limited that and said, hammers not welcome. They are, of course. I mean, I'm a big old hammer. But we've said, hammer, bring your buddy, bring your friend, right? Make it about your shared experience. I think that we've tapped into something even cooler. And that is being recognized, So I'm really excited about this, how we have built this. We've prioritized the experience that cycling, an enriching experience that cycling can bring. We've done that in a context in Appalachia, in Floyd County, Virginia, which I think is fundamentally tuned to that in a way that much of urban America is not. And we've said, come on, come one and come all, and let's have a rowdy good time. And I'm really excited about that. Myself and Emily, who's working on promotion as one of three of us, and then our friend Andrew Dunlap, who has a brilliant mind for business and web content and that sort of thing, are putting this on together. And we're really excited for all the people that are going to come and shred with us and eat with us and get rowdy at the Floyd Country Store, which is a really cool place. I'll bisect to say that we're doing our packet pickup at the Floyd Country Store, which is this amazing nexus of bluegrass and folk music that is right off Interstate 81 and has some of the most amazing musicians just show up. I mean, a couple weeks ago, John Prine and Bella Fleck just pulled in on like a Friday afternoon. And right, exactly.
Just Bella Flex in the neighborhood,
popping in,
just selling out, auditoriums and concert halls, and they're just going to pull in because they want to play music with the people who play at the Floyd Country Store on Friday nights. Like, this is the kind of undiscovered nexus of community and shared experience and stuff. And so when we said to the county, hey, we want to bring 400 of the coolest cyclists you've never met, they said, let's do this. And that really kind of kicked it off to what has so far been a thing that nobody said no to. There's been a couple people that are like, man, duo's not for me. I'm a lone wolf, and that's cool. There's a t-shirt you can buy for that. But for us, it's a matter of let's come and let's be better together than we can be as individuals. And I think that in the year 2020, people have been faced with that in a really cool and challenging way, and that we want to do that through bikes is the coolest thing in the world to me.
That message is important at any time. It is exceptionally important now, and it is exceptionally important that we're doing this through the medium that we have, which for us, the people on this podcast, this bikes is the medium that we're trying to change the world.
Yeah.
And it is at the same time invigorating that you're doing this, but also frustrating and depressing that others aren't. But this has to be the model that we have to put forth. And I think this is important when we're thinking about these things. We have to put intentionality into building community. We have to put intentionality into honoring the places in which we do things, the history of them, the world that we exist in. If we're not doing that, then we don't give people authentic experiences and draw them into the reasons that we love this thing.
It goes back to what we were talking about before really diving into the journey. Kind of the specifics of it is like talking about remaining appropriate and not falling down the rabbit hole of codifying what gravel is and gravel racing versus gravel adventure riding versus touring versus like we just want to break it apart and to do all these things. That's what we do.
Yeah.
But then listening to you explain this, I was just making gestures over to Doug that I was getting goosebumps because it's that level of intentionality. Again, it's the same thing we were talking about with becoming a better human by just paying more attention to every little thing is making every decision about where you have packet pickup, what time the event goes off, where you get the food from, how you engage the local community, how you get access to additional connector trail that may go through like Uncle Jesse's backyard or whatever the case may be, is bringing all of those people together and building something that says, hey, what you have is amazing and I want to show it off to the world. I don't want to bring a thing here that just goes by your house and doesn't respect what it is because everybody's got their head down and they've got like snot bubbles coming out. I want them to be a part of and see this life that you live and see the experiences that you can have in this world and specifically in this area of the world. And kind of it's something that we miss as humans right now, that like you coming into an election year and it's all about, making sure that you have enough electoral votes and whatever that. And inevitably we're going to come down to this discussion about the flyover states or what states does somebody need to go to or things like that. But it's like when you bring people to your area, whether it's where the journey is going to take place, or it's the middle of Ohio, or it's the middle of Iowa, or wherever it is, if that's the place that you grew up in and you love, show it off, share it with the world, give it the opportunity to shine and let people appreciate how it shines. And like listening to you explain that about what Appalachian Journey is all about, it's like, that's how you keep it from jumping the shark, is making those intentional decisions and putting the region and the people and the things that are important to that area on display, so then people can come experience them. So then the folks that are there all the time have great experiences with these new people that are curious about what Floyd County is all about.
Yeah.
But then the people from Floyd, having all these people in Lycra pinching each other's butts come into town.
We got to check fitness, John. Got to check fitness.
They get that's a new one for me. They get an opportunity to kind of see how the other half lives, because those are kind of, from a media perspective, those are kind of juxtaposed lifestyles of the really laid back kind of country living versus the kind of higher strung person that's going to want to go out and do 110 miles and Lord knows how much vertical climbing. They're just different mentalities. So when you can combine them together and get them to have some harmony, you're doing something really special and proving that it's possible to do those things, whether it's Floyd County or it's the middle of South Dakota, or it's as a nation that we can actually have conversations with each other on bigger topics.
We can learn from each other, and it's okay.
It's wild. Oh, it's a crazy thought.
Yeah. And I think that as gravel grows a little bit, as cycling hopefully kind of reinvigorates with people who aren't jaded with power rankings, I do hope that that's our takeaway, right? Is that we're better together. We're better focusing on the experience of each other and our community. And we wave and we say, "Hey, neighbor," even if we're not from that county, like we kind of have this mutually understood experience that other set of eyeballs inside a skull is the same as you. And you just got to find that middle ground. I mean, I'm not sure how we're actually going through Uncle Jesse's field though. That was like a prophecy.
Well, John scouted your route.
That's just my.
He knows there's a guy named Jesse.
That's just my weekly Dukes of Hazzard reference for the podcast.
I guarantee. Yeah. No, there's some really cool, locals only stuff that folks for folks before us, fortunately, who have explored Floyd County by bicycle have opened up, and that we're taking a risk on. But I'm confident we'll pay off because we are sharers. We are people who take the time to understand and experience. And when I look through, the 400 people that will let come journey with us on April 11th, I'm really excited. We have a couple countries, we have both coasts, we have some Rocky Mountains. Like, we have a lot of people coming to see some Floyd County, and it's going to be special, y'all. It's really going to be special. So I think that's where we're going, man, is shared experience, is shared love of unique things and of valuing each other's time. And that's where I'm really excited to take the journey in our 2020. Because, man, it's better together. It's better when you share it. It's good times, man. It's super rad.
Absolutely. That's how we operate. And that's why we're all kindred spirits, and we're stoked to have you back to be able to talk about this stuff, because we believe in what you're doing as a mission. And you can hear
it when you talk about it.
Cool.
And you know how passionate we've had plenty of conversations over this past year over whether text or email or on the phone, talking about all the things that we're all passionate about. And it always comes down to that. It always comes down to this thought of community, this thought of building something bigger than ourselves, because we're passionate about what the bikes have done in our life and how we feel they can change people and how it can be a bridge in other ways. And I think that shines through in what, your 2019's been all over the map, all up and down for both you and Emily and your family unit, but you're coming out of it with this creative opportunity to bring something to everybody. And that is so exciting for us, and for all the Pebbles to be able to see. Pebbles, unfortunately, that ship hath done sailed. We will not be seeing you necessarily unless you already signed up to go to the journey. But, this opportunity for a special experience exists in your local area. Find those things, find those opportunities, and make them work for you.
And if it doesn't, make your own.
Yeah.
That's the challenge is if you're in South Dakota and you don't have this and you're just sitting there frumping around that you don't have this.
And you can't travel because you may not have that budget.
Right.
Whatever.
Gordon, this didn't exist last year. Just were I'm going to make a thing. And you went about figuring out how to make a thing because you understand that there's people that have been through that you can go ask questions of, and that you can lean on when you do have questions. There's partners in the industry that want to be a part of things like this. When you have that intentionality, jump and the world is going to catch you. It's one of the most counterintuitive things that has taken me more than 37 years to figure out that it actually works. But it's one of those, this is an industry, and this is a community of people, both within the industry and outside the industry, of people that believe in the bike and what it can do, because we've all experienced what it's done in our lives, for helping us clear our heads, for getting us more healthy, for getting us through traumas. Whatever it's done for you, the bike is the ultimate empath. So take advantage of it, and this community will take care of you.
I think that's such a good lesson. Yeah. Jump and the world will catch you, and do it on purpose.
Yeah. So if that's what John's lesson for all the Pebbles today is, right? John's already well, this is what I think is most important. So, we did this last time, but what do you want folks to take away from our conversation that we've had tonight?
There's a lot of, I think we hit some good nuggets. To us, for the journey and for the way that Emily and I are going into 2020, it's that we're better together. We will find ways to divide ourselves, whether that is skin color or hair color or whatever you want, dialect, accent, whether you like country music or not, you name it. We will find reasons to divide. And there's there's reasons for that. I mean, there's all kinds of developmental and evolutionary reasons for that if you buy into that. But at the end of the day, man, we're better together. Your best rides are ones that are with people, acknowledging their experience too. Your best day is going to be probably not solo. And if you pick apart why your solo best day was the best, then it's probably still predicated upon other people. So I think being better together, acknowledging that and letting that inform, like you guys have said, kind of our intentionality in the world it's huge, man. It's right. It's good.
I love it. That is exactly the way to move through this world in 2020. I think that's an awesome place to be. And I'm stoked to hear that you guys are there, and we're excited to see what 2020 holds for all of us.
Well, let's do bikes sometime, y'all. Come on south, or I'll come up to you.
We think that's April 11th, John. Do you think that's a good day? We should probably maybe get to Virginia.
Might have to, yeah.
Yeah, come on, man. I'll put in a special invite for one of Uncle Jesse's special hand-ups, all right?
Right at the top of the big hill. If you give John moonshine on a ride, I think I'm concerned what will happen post that. So.
Nothing will happen. Just fall asleep.
John will just go to bed. Well, this has been awesome. Thanks again, Gordon, for joining us. This has been exceptional, and we look forward to having you back again soon, man.
Yeah, thank you guys for the opportunity and the friendship, and we'll see y'all in Appalachia real soon.
That was an awesome interview with Gordo, the Wadsworth, the man, the myth, the legend.
I think he's somebody that he has a great social media presence, but he's somebody that really, really shines in a longer format like this because you really get an idea of who he is. Because we talk about it all the time, like social media can be hyper cultivated, and even he and I had a whole side conversation about he shoots 100 photos for Instagram just to get one because he has to make up for lack of quality with just quantity.
Right. But that's how I shoot.
But all of that is it's this cultivated thing. But if you listen to him talk, you can just hear his passion. You can hear he just sounds like a kind person. He's somebody that thinks about the broader picture and thinks about what's best for everybody. And you really get a sense of that with how he puts races together, how he involves everybody, involves the entire freaking community. I mean, everyone is invested in this event, and it hasn't even happened yet. It's incredible.
It's a mantra, not just like lip service. It's like how he actually conducts his life. I mean, we had this conversation beforehand that hit the floor, hit the cutting room floor, but was about his water situation at their property that is out there. And this guy is out there grinding, trying to figure it out and do that stuff, but he's just got a different take on it. And it's just ever so slightly different, but it's Gordon. And you feel that it's him and the people that surround him. Yeah. That's how he operates. It's so freaking true to who he is. It's wonderful.
It's unique. It's genuine. It's pure. There's just a purity of character there. And it's one of those things you and I have talked about it off air, but it's like 70-year-old empathy. Yeah. We've had that conversation a lot. It's there's just this level of empathy and understanding that you get when you just accumulate enough life experiences, and it normally happens by the time you get 70 because you just acquire so many things over that amount of time.
You've been beaten up enough for sure.
And he's one of those people that I think he's been lucky enough, and he even says it in this interview. He's so fortunate to be able to travel the world and see all of these different things and have these pretty wild, challenging experiences at Cape Epic and all these different events that he's gone to. And those things start to change who you are and change how you interact with the world around you. And he's living proof of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that was a heck of a lot of fun. As always, a huge thank you to all of you Pebbles.
Oh, you went, you put a Y on the huge there.
Huge?
It's very timely. Yeah. Huge.
Well, I'm from New England. It is huge. It's always been huge. What else is it?
Is that orange. In honor of the primary this week?
No, it is not. No, it is not. It is not at all. Trying
to make the show about politics.
We're not making this show
spin-off show. It's going to come to Wide Angle Podium.
Oh God. We can do bike politics. That's a thing.
Oh boy.
You want to do that?
I'd actually rather talk about regular politics than bike politics.
Okay, good then. So we won't do that. A thank you to all of our Pebbles, always.
Absolutely.
You guys are amazing. Gals, folks in general, you are fantastic. We're so thankful to have you. As always, if you are not a Wide Angle Podium member or donor, please go to the wideanglepodium.com and become a member today. You can join recurring, you can donate one time, and make sure when you're signing up, you click the box.
Check the box
for Gravelot.
Right.
Like, you're here, you listen to us. We need your support to keep doing what we're doing. We're in our kind of quasi makeshift studio. We're working on our new digs and trying to do good stuff, just like the guys over at Bike Shop CX are doing with their money they're putting into Montana Cross Camp. Like, we put our money back into either our show or into doing positive things in the community. And we encourage you to do the same by supporting the things you listen to.
Yeah, like Doug said, thank you so much for giving us a chance, engaging in this process, and really just giving us your time each and every week to listen to what we have to say, listen to the people that we have on the show, and continually challenge us with new directions and new guests and new challenges and all of these different things. So we really, Doug and I are the ones that sit, we talk to these folks, we do all the planning, we do all the kind of execution, but this is a big, giant community effort that you guys are just as much involved in it as Doug and I are. So we love hearing from all of you. You guys know by now, we're at The Gravelot on all major forms of social media. You can hit thegravelot.com. Be on the lookout for some new content coming. We have been working on something for quite a long time that we're going to have as a recurring additional stream of content coming.
Yeah, and make sure to go check out the Wide Angle Podium Green Room. So find the Part Spin, subscribe to it, search the Part Spin, and find Mr. David Palin and I got together and we did like a you're a this, I'm a that. Like, it was like comparison of like us and learning about each other and interesting things. So it's kind of fun to get some time to spend with him. There's episodes where we're mixing up different Wide Angle Podium hosts, and it's kind of fun. John's got to get and do one too.
I do. So send us your ideas for who I should talk to.
Who should John talk to from the Wide Angle Podium?
I have who I want to talk to.
That's good. We'll see if that.
We'll see if that happens.
Right.
So just like we endlessly appreciate all of the support that you guys give us in terms of downloads and becoming members and all of that stuff. We could not do the Gravelot without these folks who just continuously support us and keep the train on the rails.
If you ride in it, it is guaranteed that they make it.
Probably.
Well,
unless
it's a guarantee.
It's like lingerie, something weird.
Well, I mean, lingerie is not weird.
But they do custom, so they might do it.
For cycling, lingerie is a little bit of a reach. It seems uncomfortable. Lace.
That's a good clarification.
Yeah, lace not in a place you want to be if you're cycling. But if you need tops,
bottoms,
outerwear,
base layers,
chamois cream,
socks,
or warmers,
and basically all the other stuff,
jackets, all those things. Yes. It can all be customized to your exact specifications. We've been working with Adam and his team for over a year and have been continually blown away by the quality, attention to detail, and the turnaround time on all this gear. I do not like riding in anything else anymore. This is my world.
Even on the trainer right now, it's all BFRB kind of all the time. So head over, if you want to learn more, you can head over to bfrbcycling.com and take a look at how they can help not only you, but your entire team get outfitted for 2020 and beyond. This podcast is also generously supported by our good friends at Whoop.
Yeah, we're stoked to have Whoop back. It is awesome. Whoop is back with the Wide Angle Podium again. I've been using Whoop for a long time. I feel like it's been decades, but it has been a good relationship for me.
It's actually one of, probably since I've known you, the most useful tools that I've seen you use.
Yeah, I mean,
and been very loyal to, and is actually very, very helpful for you in slowing you down.
It's good. I mean, like, it's actually a little bit of like a you know how like you drag the e-brake when you get around a corner and you're trying to like get that turn in
correct? Season for that, yes.
Right, yeah. So if you're like, hey, I'm out here in this snowy parking lot, I'm trying to make this sucker turn around, I'm trying to get a little turn in, grab that e-brake, and I sometimes need to drag the brake a little bit on myself, and Whoop's great at that. It is very, very functional. It is a recovery tracker more than anything else. It knows what you've done, how much cardiovascular load you've put out during the day, but it thinks about it and says, yo, dummy, slow down.
Right. So since Doug is already like rambling down the hill, I'm going to back up a little bit and say that Whoop is a
Thanks.
wrist-worn heart rate monitor. So it sits on your wrist. It tracks your pulse. It tracks your heart rate variability. So basically, to Doug's point, it says how much strain you have put on your body, how well you sleep, how well you're recovered. It has a 5-day battery, and it's really all about getting you the ability and giving you the tools to better understand what your body is trying to tell you.
Exactly, and sometimes you need tools to help navigate this world. Whether it's someone giving you good information or someone actually guiding you. Whoop can do either one of those. You can be granular if you want it. It can be very basic, stoplight, red, green, yellow. That is really, really easy to use for me and has been an amazing tool. And I will tell you this: the Whoop customer service has been impeccable for the last almost 2 years that I've been using their product. Anytime I've had an issue, they have been responsive, and that's not something that you find in every company. So we strongly urge you here on the Gravel Lot to go out and support our sponsors, Whoop. They have got a deal for all the Pebbles.
Right. You have no excuse why you shouldn't go support them because we're going to give you money off.
Exactly. And that is 15% off a purchase of a 12 or 18-month subscription to their service. They'll send you the hardware for free. You can get a 12 or 18-month subscription to their service, and you will save 15% off with the code WAP or WAP, Wide Angle Podium. So code WAP at checkout to save yourself 15% off Whoop. Make sure to go support longtime supporter of the show, Dan and Grimpore Brothers Coffee.
Dan has provided 2 hand-roasted blends that are exclusively made for Pebbles, just like you, which are you guys should know this by now.
Yeah,
it's the Full Schleck and the Hello Cyclocross Friends Espresso, or both. And rumor has it, and I guess if we run this ad roll long enough that they might actually have released it by now, but rumor has it that the coffee minions have been brewing up something new for the Wide Angle Podium shows. So, Full Schleck, Hello Cyclocross Friends Espresso. You can brew it as regular coffee. It's not only espresso. But Dan also has a lot of other blends if you're not interested in those. And the cool thing about every single one of them is that they all go to support the thing that is on the label.
Yeah, so cycling.
Right, cycling or athletes or causes or events. And so you can click the link in our show notes and head to the Grimpore Brothers website now. And obviously, like we said,
Full Schleck,
Hello Cyclocross Friends Espresso.
Make that purchase. Support this show. Support this network.
Purchase good coffee. Drink good coffee. Support the things that you care about,
including Dan and Grimpore Brothers
and us.
Our intro and outro music is from our friends and local band here in Cincinnati, Undertipper. Go and check them out at undertipper.bandcamp.com and thank them for supporting our show by purchasing their fine tunage.
Yeah, go buy music.
Absolutely.
Rock out.
Yeah, just for a little while.
Yeah.
You can rock out without having to hear us.
But don't be sad when you listen to Bicycle and
there's a bunch of
it's
things
over with.
And then we don't
hear. Yeah, and then I'm not there.
But you get to hear all the other...
Or you might be really happy about that.
You get to hear the other stanzas of the song, which would be nice, which is kind of fun. So there's some other good lyrics. That's a wrap for today, as we say each and every week. Decisions and trails are made by those who show up. So if you don't see you on the trails this week, we'll see you next time. Bye, John.
Bye, Doug. Bye, Doug. Bye, Doug. Bye, Doug. Bye, Doug. Bye, Doug.